Good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. We are back at Knowledge Fest Orlando 2021. Today, we are headed to the Sony booth because Sony just announced the rebirth of Sony ES. We have Jared from Sony that is going to take us into their car. They have this awesome Lexus that he himself built, and we're going to take a look at the products along with all the new speakers. They have a brand new radio, and let me tell you what, guys, this is the new benchmark of benchmarks. This is the radio that all radios going forward are going to be judged on. Well, let's just hop into it. Jared, how are you?
I'm great.
What have we built?
This is a 2021 Lexus NX 300 with our new Mobile ES product in here.
Which is incredible because, like, how did you get a radio in that thing?
Lots of disassembly and lots of modifications, but we got it in there. It's mounted solid. It looks like it should be there. It replaced the probably worst user interface factory screen ever with now a nice 10-inch touchscreen.
Other than the radio, what else does it have in it?
Our new Mobile ES 162 component sets, front and the rear.
What did you put in the back for power?
Our current Sony GS amplifiers. So I have a GS 100 on each of the 10-inch ES woofers and a GS 4 powering the...
Wow, look at it. That's a plexi box. This is a presentation, like a great presentation of the woofer, because the back of that is just as impressive as the front, if not better.
So our speakers have always sounded really, really good.
Yes.
Now these look as good as they sound, and I really wanted to show that off on here. So I couldn't just hide it.
Yeah.
An MDF box. I wanted to do it clear. Then I really wanted to see the back of it as well. So I did some mirrored acrylic in there as well, just to really highlight it and show how good they look, as well as how good they sound.
That is full stealth.
Yep.
This is like every soccer mom's dream come true.
Other than the giant floating radio there, this is still a Lexus, and it needs to be a Lexus, so it needed to be functional and not seen.
Even the big floating radio looks totally natural. Let's hop into the car and take a look at it.
Okay.
Those are a runoff of our passive crossover network box that comes with those speakers.
What's the mid-range?
Mid-range is a 6.5 inch with a new Gen 3 mica that we've produced.
Look at that. Holy cow. How long did it take you to do that?
3 days.
Nice, yeah, no doubt. Very good. Center feature of this is clearly this gorgeous display here in front of us. What are some of the new features that set this apart from everybody else's?
So basically we took everyone's wish list that we've been compiling from all of our feedback and requests from our dealers. We tried to give them everything that they asked for. Now it has wireless CarPlay, Android Auto. You have Maestro, finally, again.
I know, right?
One of the other things that seemed really simple that we did for the guys, say you don't have Sirius XM. That icon was always stuck there on the screen. You can rearrange all the icons, get rid of sources you don't have. You know, if I want my camera up there now, you can rearrange all that stuff there.
There's 5 icons that you can do whatever you want with.
Yeah, those are all interchangeable. Another cool thing on here is these soft buttons right here. Say I'm in radio here. So I have my tactile button, my home button here, but so I don't want to reach that far. I can hit it here as well. These 2 buttons here are addressable. You can change those to be whatever function that you want.
Wow.
Whatever fits your install.
Now, how are you attached to the radio now? Are you streaming from your phone?
Right now I'm connected wirelessly.
I love wireless CarPlay.
It's the biggest thing we did here.
Is the EQ.
So we added in more adjustability on our graphic EQ. Obviously that's going to control all your pre-outs. That's going to control all the channels. If we get down here, if we go into our advanced, not only do you have the graphic, you also have a parametric EQ.
Okay.
Per channel. If
All
you notice
channels?
here, per channel has an individual EQ.
Wow.
So right now it says subwoofer has just the one. Our subwoofer is no longer a single RC output. You have dual sub outputs that can be adjustable as stereo or as a sum to mono. So now I just changed my sub output to stereo. So let's go back to the parametric EQ here. Now you have subwoofer left, subwoofer right.
So if you're one of those guys that, let's say, might put a subwoofer in the front of the vehicle and a subwoofer in the back of the vehicle, we have independent equalization.
Absolutely.
Do we have independent level control?
You do.
Oh, look at that. Is there any way to sum them together, or would we just leave it as a one channel? So if we're just doing a
So
mono
right now
block.
we have it in stereo. So if I go back here into subwoofer output, if I put it back to a sum mono, I go to subwoofer level and it is just single then. Your front and rear crossovers now are separated. They are isolated. So you can set different frequencies and slopes for front and rear and woofer.
Does this also do time alignment?
It does. We have some preset settings in here,
Oh, look at that.
but If you start scrolling over, it gets better. You can do individual time alignment right on your screen here.
And it'll do inches and centimeters.
That's actually very helpful because on our GS6 amplifier, we have a very similar interface on there, and everyone always questioned what the numbers were, because they would do their measurements and they would measure it in inches, where it was actually in centimeters, but it wasn't labeled.
That kind of screwed things up.
It did. So now, you can choose if
Perfect.
you want it in centimeters or in inches.
What's your experience with Sony ES then and now, and why are you excited about this?
I'm really excited because now I'm finally old enough to appreciate it. I came into the industry right when the Sony ES was going away. I literally have only one job installing a Sony ES product.
Which is one more than me. That's awesome.
And I was way too young to appreciate it and really understand and know what it was. I was too young to really know and understand how special it was. And now being involved on relaunching this and having my own feedback as part of designing this is huge. To come full circle like that from a novice installer to now helping to bring this to market.
Yeah, and doing an amazing install.
A huge honor to be involved in bringing this back to you guys.
Of all the things that were going to happen in 2021, the relaunch of Sony ES, and then coming out with this radio as like, yeah guys, this is why we're making the coolest stuff.
We've had a year and a half to really put all of our heads together and bring something great, and this is the result of it.
So something awesome came out of COVID, guys. Who knew, right? A little bit more about this car and this install that you did on it. How much time did you spend on this?
I actually got these cars in February. It's what now, June?
You did this in that amount of time?
I did 2 cars in that amount of time, as well as my normal job. And we have to subtract 9 weeks of physical therapy that I didn't actually work on them.
We'll get into that another time. We don't need to talk about that one. No car experience that we can bring you will be the same without playing some music, and we're playing some royalty-free music. I'm gonna apologize right off the bat that it's not the coolest music we'd want to play. YouTube has all these rules, but I want to hear this car, and well, we're just gonna jam on it. Take my word, it sounds awesome. So I'd like to thank Jared as well as Chris for taking the time to go through and explain to you guys and us all the cool new features that Sony ES has. Also for you guys, stay tuned. This is just the very beginning. You have a lot of cool stuff that you can't talk about officially or unofficially. The other sad thing is we got this because of COVID, but we're also not getting everything that we want.
Correct. It should have been a cohesive launch with the full line, but...
And see, that's the thing. There's the side thing right there, the full line. So yes, it's time to speculate on what's coming out and what to expect from these guys. We know we have a pretty awesome head unit with a lot of cool features in it. I wonder what could be coming out next. But that'll have to be the next show. We'd like to thank Sony so much for giving us access to their vehicles and their new technology to share with you guys. Fernando, where are you?
Okay, so back in early May, we reintroduced the Sony Mobile ES line to the Sony Car Audio product division. ES was very popular back in the 90s, especially through the mid to late 90s. We had a lot of excellent pieces that came out. It kind of became the mark of excellence in the industry for sure. After a long hiatus, basically 30 years since the original launch of Mobile ES, we've reintroduced the line. And in that May event, we talked about 5 speakers that have come out. So we've got 6.5-inch coax, a 6.5-inch, and a 1.5-inch component set. We've got a 6x8 for the OEM replacements on Ford and Mazda vehicles, and then a 6x9. And then of course we've got our 10-inch Sony ES subwoofer as well. Some of the design behind these speakers is really unique to Sony and really kind of does a lot of justice to that Mobile ES name. We spent a ton of time engineering these to not only play great sound, but really give you your maximum kind of bang for the buck. We've got a vented motor structure on these speakers. What this does is every time the speaker plays, it's actually moving air across that voice coil, keeping it cooler. So that's pretty important when you're playing these for long periods of time, especially at high volume. Those voice coils on normal speakers would heat up pretty bad, and that can cause distortion, maybe even failure at some point. But these pretty immune to that because of that new vented Polbys or vented motor mount. The 162 ES component set is bi-amp capable, so you can run independent amplifier channels through our network box to our individual components in that, which gives you a little bit more flexibility on the installation of those. The entire speaker frame is composite. It's a new polymer that we've come up with. Keeps the speaker very lightweight, keeps it structurally rigid, and reduces the resonance of the speakers. So a metal basket on a normal speaker has some resonance to it, will vibrate a little bit, causes a little bit of distortion and noise while it's playing back. These are immune to that as well. Yesterday, we actually announced the new Sony XAV 9500 ES. It's our new 10.1-inch wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, and Maestro compatible head unit. And if you harken back the release of the RSX GS9 high-res player 5-6 years ago now, we kind of set the mark for high-res playback, and this is a giant evolutionary leap from that deck. What we've done is taken and upgraded those components that were in that GS9 and some of that chassis design for that high-res playback and put it into a much more media-friendly format. This giant screen, of course, gives you all of your functionality with wireless CarPlay and Android Auto for safety features, navigation, all that good stuff. You can now stream any type of music source through either Android Auto or CarPlay or the LDAC Sony Bluetooth capability that does allow a little bit higher resolution Bluetooth streaming to the deck itself. Inside this is really where it counts. We have a new 9080Q ESS sound processing chip. It was actually introduced in December of 2020, so it's the latest and greatest of the ESS chips. What that does is it's able to upscale digital media streaming through that chip. So you've got the best of both worlds. You've got the great sound quality that ESS chips are known for. That RSX GS9 had one as well, kind of the predecessor of that. But this one will also upscale that digital media, which is pretty important nowadays. Everybody's just using stuff off their phone. Just a great piece here. The Identilink Maestro, you kind of see that stuff flashing on the screen there. Full capability, full multimedia, just a great deck. That's going to be a $12.99 retail price point, but a lot of bang for your buck on that one.
Wow.
Good
For the
stuff,
price
huh?
is insane. Honestly, I was thinking it was gonna be like higher than that.
Sure.
But
Yep.
let's talk about the component speakers.
Sure.
The whole line. So it's a component 6.5.
It is a component 6.5, so it's a 1.5-inch tweeter, drops into a 2 1/8-inch hole, and then the 6.5-inch driver, of course, is the complement to that. And it comes with a network crossover box that will high pass the driver at 500 hertz and the tweeter at 5,000 hertz. The coax version of that, so it's the tweeter built into the center. Actually, you can see it over here. You see the tweeter in the middle of the speaker, so that's our coaxial version. And then, of course, our 6x8 and 6x9s are the same coaxial design, but just the appropriate size for whatever your application is. The 6x8s are the only speakers in this lineup that do not come with speaker grills, and that's because these are direct plug and play, drop in for the Ford, Mazda vehicles. 50, 60 million of those vehicles still on the road that we still have the ability to upgrade them. So we just want people to be able to drop in those in.
Let me ask you this tweeter seems a little bit bigger.
It is bigger. So if you're comparing like to the older GS series, the GS is a 1-inch tweeter. So this is wider, it's a little bit bigger. It's made out of a synthetic fiber that we've come up with. It's proprietary to us. It sounds great. All of these speakers are high-res capable, so they have the ability to go up to 40 kilohertz. High-res certified officially, of course. Sony kind of helps set that mark in the industry for high-res reproduction. Ours meet all the qualifications for that.
And this one can be taken apart? Or?
So the tweeter, you don't want to disassemble that because that grill on this is a waveguide, but you can flush mount it, and it comes with a couple different cups for different mounting surfaces. So if you're going to put them on the top of the dash or in the A-pillar, whatever you want to do, it's all kind of, you know, there in the box, or you can get crafty and kind of put it behind a factory OEM grill if you need to as well. And when you're putting a radio this large into a vehicle, sometimes like it's difficult because not a lot of cars were made to put like a giant tablet in the middle of the dash. Adjustability is key. This radio can move in and out from the chassis. It can move up and down, of course. In fact, it just popped up on the screen.
Yep.
You can tilt it back and forth to match the rake of your dash, right? Which is awesome. But this one will also move left and right. So you can make it off center a little bit in case you've got like a hazard switch or something on one side that you want access to. No problem at all. It should be able to accommodate most dashboard applications. And we always recommend like an ISO DIN mount. So this is a single DIN chassis. Very important to note that, right? But we recommend ISO DIN mount only. So what that means to the layperson is you'll want a kit or a dash bracket that allows you to screw the chassis in. This screen gets a little heavy on the front as it's sticking out of that dashboard. So you want to screw it in, of course. There's no cage mount for it. Just kind of keep that in mind as you're preparing to install this. You should be able to put it in most dashboard applications. Let's take a look at this. We've got, you can actually reorganize all of these icons on the screen here. What you do is hit that apps button, and let's say you didn't want the phone on here because you don't, basically when somebody calls in, you don't need to press the phone button, right? So you'd pull it down here, and let's say you wanted to put Sirius XM back up there. Big partner of ours, we love those guys. You want to put that up there, now you've rearranged your icons, no problem. But let's say you wanted to get into some of the other stuff. Let's go to settings, and let's look at some of the cool application stuff. So let's go to sound, and you'll notice that if you go to advanced, you can actually choose a mono or stereo subwoofer output. Because this head unit has 6-channel DSP, you can adjust the time delay on all 6 channels independently. We also have a parametric EQ. It's 8-band EQ per channel, so all 6 channels has an 8-band parametric EQ on it.
Wow,
okay?
We dream about this, man.
It's good stuff, right?
Yes.
So you can set a custom setting, of course, whatever you want to do. You can adjust every setting on these. Let's go back here, let's go to the crossover, kind of a more visual, graphical display of what's going on. And if you'll notice, you've got a high pass filter set on the fronts here, but you actually have pretty good flexibility all the way up to 48 dB.
48.
I mean, it's a pretty steep slope, right? You're going to drop off the cliff there, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. You're kind of setting up your system on what you want to do with it. Back up here and go to listening position. So this is actually kind of cool. Anybody who used our old Music Center software kind of saw this, the pre-stages of it early on, but we've got some good Sony presets here. We're very good at sound processing, and we've got some good things that you can kind of just pre-select here if you want. You can do an all, because like I ride around with my family quite a bit, and everybody wants to hear the music, so this is a good one to have, just at quick access. But you can also customize this. So this is where the time alignment comes in. It's essentially a time delay, right? And what you're doing is you're measuring the distance to the driver from whatever seating position you want to assign this to. You'll use your tape measure, you'll get it all dialed in, and you'll go from there. We have some visual stuff too that you can apply. You can actually select different wallpapers, of course. These, we've got some cool ones that come with it, but you can actually upload 2 of your own as well. So if you want to put your picture of your family or picture of your car, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You can upload it to the screen. It is an HD resolution screen, 1280 by 720 pixel. So upload a picture that fits in that, and you're good to go. Anti-glare screen on the, like the coating on the screen is anti-glare, but we also have a bonded glass architecture on that. In a normal LCD, there's a little bit of a gap between the surface and the panel underneath it. And what happens with that is the sunlight will come through that first surface and then reflect back up. If you've ever worn polarized sunglasses as you're driving and you can't see part of the screen, that's that reflection on the back side of that causes that. So this bonded glass will prevent that from happening while you're driving. Subwoofers, this 10-inch subwoofer is pretty awesome. It's about 5 7/8 inch deep, I believe it is. Plays down to 25 hertz, way up to 500 hertz. That's our recommendation. 1.2 cubic feet for a sealed box, 1.7-ish for a ported box if you're good to go. And these things will jam. Up to 1800 watts peak power performance, 450 watts RMS. So able to handle quite a bit of power. Of course, our GS amplifiers, that's what we run all of our stuff off of in our demo car. With the Lexus over there, our GS amplifiers are powering all of those ES speakers and subwoofers in that vehicle. One of the key things, just real quick, I forgot to mention, is on these speakers, one of the other design elements was an aluminum shorting ring inside it. In addition to the vented pole piece in there and the 3.2 ohm nominal impedance on those speakers, you're actually pulling a little bit more power out. And with that, it can come a little bit of noise. You get a lot of magnetic flux as the speaker's moving, and that aluminum shorting ring eliminates all of that. Very clear, very loud because of the high sensitivity rating and the lower nominal impedance. Just a great sounding speaker overall. If you were putting these side by side with a competitor model on the same system, these are going to be louder and clearer for sure.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Fernando.
On to the next one, guys.
You guys have a great night as always. We'll see you later next time. Bye.